Hello, everyone, and really sorry if there's a buzzing sound in the background coming from the microphone, because I don't really know how to fix it, but I guess. So I want to start out this episode by just doing a quick reading of some 5 poems from the book I'm working on, and I'm kind of getting a little tired of reading the poems because I've been working on them for so long, but they're still really mean a lot to me, and just want to share them with someone. So, and then I'm going to discuss some of the meaning behind them after I'm done reading them. So I haven't picked out the ones I want to read yet, but I'll be back in a second. And as I begin reading these poems, you'll begin to see the religious, and even if it's not religious, it's like a grandiose theme about attaining something outside of this world, even though a lot of these poems directly invoke religion to get that concept. And it's almost like a semi-delusional mindset that I try to advance through the speakers of these poems. Because of how important the fleeting moment is, because of the fact that when you die, it's over. And death has been really a great fear during a lot of my life. Just dying is something I think about a lot. Like, what does life even mean if we die and then that's the end of life? But what I'm trying to say is that I use a lot of abstractions in my work, because I'm trying to grasp for something that really no one can really get their hands around, and because I'm talking about spiritual realities, and a lot of people don't even believe in a spiritual world, so which is why it's so hard, because we can't even grasp the spiritual world, but a lot of people want to touch it. Even when we talk about the subject of romantic love, I mean, we know that the emotions can be so strong and so powerful, but if they don't last forever, they don't really mean anything. If there's nothing that makes a stain if what you're doing now does not make a mark on something permanent, it doesn't mean anything at all. So that's really what I'm trying to get at here, which is why I for the purpose of crafting an argument in this my works, I use medieval Catholicism as a way to try to get these ideas across. And hopefully you've been following what I'm saying. I'm kind of semi-rambling, but I'm trying to get my words and thoughts in order. But that's kind of relevant to what I'm talking about. It's hard to get our heads around the subjects I'm trying to talk about. So I'm just going to give a few examples from my book about what I just said. So the best example is this next poem, which is also the first poem I'm going to read right now. I read this on another channel, but I want to just reiterate this poem because it's a really good poem, I think. So this is currently number 13 of the division 2 of my book. My book currently has 8 divisions, and this is from the 2nd division. We have no conception, death without resurrection. We are free to destroy ourselves. I live and do not say a word, and every day without exception, I fall in love with a secret world, and the more I grasp for it, the farther it flies away. Each day a covenant is broken. Each day we reap damnation upon ourselves. Never to find the key to salvation, we always tempt the flames. I can't keep myself inside my skin, because forgetting one's own vocation is the cardinal sin. God knows we lost the gnosis long ago, and if I tried to call you, you'd never return my calls. Static noise fills up the void when we forget the past. From now on we'll just make our plans, but we never will arrive. We'll sit inside this lecture hall, and all we will hear are lies. And that's the end of the first poem. And that poem is really grasping at abstractions, as I said, but it really is really similar to a lot of the fiction that's out there, where for example, in the Harry Potter series, there's a character who like has an ability or has something that makes them different from every other person in the world, and no one else, pretty much no one else knows about this, what makes them different. No one can even understand it, but only the person who has this like supernatural knowledge or supernatural gift understands, can see the world in a new light, and is often discriminated against by other people around them. But it's really a special experience to be in that position, which is what I'm talking about in this poem. But there's other aspects about this poem, about like how even though you'd potentially improve the world by having people listen to you, you're a person that always gets shut out. Like no one will listen to your voice. So that's pretty much the gist of this poem, even though it's a lot deeper than just the superficial meaning of those words. And I just quickly want to read 3 poems I've been working on from Division 5 of my book. And these poems are all from the perspective of the character Natalie Gabler, who is a girl from New York living, she's a teenager like in the year 2009, and this just follows her life up until she's like, from the time she's like, I think it starts out when she's like 15 or 16 until she's like 28 or 30. So this really follows her romantic relationship with another character, and her religious experiences with medieval Catholicism. And I write this from this perspective as if the religion she adheres to is the true religion, and this is just an experiment to see like how the world would be if, like, because the way the medieval Catholics believed, they believed that they actually took their religion very seriously, and they believed that they had a legalistic view of how God operated, and if you didn't fall into a specific category as being like free from all mortal sin and all original sin, you don't go to heaven. So it's a very stringent view of God, but there's some aspects about that belief that I like. It's kind of like a very mystic form of spirituality. It's really, in some ways, it's not entirely an acceptable religion, but it's sort of a mystical spirituality that is really lacking in the modern world, even though it's really a really harsh belief. But there are aspects, even if you don't agree with the aspects of it, you can look at it and see that this is something that's really mystical. So I'm just going to read three little short, they're not poems because the poems are really long, but I have it designed like each section is a date with like a diary entry. So I'm going to read January 24th, 2009, March 14th, 2017, and the last one, which is when the end of the world happens, which I have set at, you guys are really curious when the end of the world will be in my fictional story. January 21st, 2021. So just watch out for that date. Okay, so I'm just going to read the first poem. So January 24th, 2009, and this is from Natalie Gabler's perspective. Scribbling on the notepad, fuck God, over 100 times. I don't want to live in a world where no one stops to listen, where no one hears my prayers. If God were real, he would stop and light a path away from here. But we are in darkness, worlds apart. And that's just a quick example of the young Natalie's mindset at that time. And now I need to find the next one. Let's just go through here, flipping through pages. Actually, I want to read several from this section because I've already released all these on my Tumblr blog. So if you want to read them there, you can. Poetry89 Tumblr. My username is Poetry89. That's the numbers 8 and 9. So, March 13th, 2017. I had a flashback in my mind that we're at Spelman again. And as soon as I saw you, I sobbed, knowing what our futures would be like in the next 5 years. And I wanted to make love to you in that dark and empty classroom, but I couldn't. Too cold to take off our clothes. Too frigid to reveal your bare, stripped heart. Too silent to hear you say to me the words I never hear. Our hearts are more fragile than ever. And I think about the pain that throbs and robs us of our meaning. We are so numb we cannot feel it. We never again will remember the time we kissed each other and were caught by Mr. Fitz. But I must wake up someday. We were told to believe in God, that God would end the loneliness. And so I prayed each day and night, and then I met you. The only time a prayer was answered. But it was enough. Even when they told us where to be, no medication could ever heal me. Let me live without you. You told me about the visions you saw in the last 5 years, a promise of the future which may be an empty lie, and the demons that will haunt our futures and make it painful to breathe. I will always be ruthless, but I love you. Love and rage are both the same. They have the same end. Both of them connect to you, find their summation in you and me. Hopefully someone enjoyed that, and because I'm really just reading this to get my thoughts out there, but hopefully I'll be able to connect with someone on this podcast. Hopefully you guys will comment. Don't agree with something, agree with something. Thought what I said was interesting. Just comments, and like it'd be cool to like reach out to you guys and become part of the YouTube community, or at least I want to start a poetry part of the YouTube community. So hopefully. Okay, this is March 14th, 2017. The day after the last one. Last night, your guardian angel came down from heaven and told me people who would never exist because of the decisions humanity had made. The days that would have materialized had Adam not rejected charity, had the words of the letters I write to you reached the ears of God. But I'm stunned to hear that my words have no power to change your destiny. And that was just to show like how a feeling about how a lot of people feel when they pray, that the prayers don't get answered, and I just want to like sympathize with those people that, especially even in this worldview I construct with in this book that the characters hold, even in a world where the religion is actually true. Still God doesn't answer them, and it's like because the God they're praying to is not really a ethical God in most ways, but it's still like a mystical form of spirituality. But it's like I'm trying to build a world where everyone is alone, everyone's separated from everyone else, and there's very little hope. But let's go to the next section. Okay, this is the last one for Division 5. January 21st, 2021. The wind, Toronto's fractured skyline. Heat and cold, busy streets we walked hand in hand. All of these are gone. The gunshots, my screams, words people told me I don't believe. I put the part of me that was willing to death long ago. A closed mind to prevent anyone from taking your heart away from mine. I will never feel it beat again. We went to bed. We never opened the door again, for fear of losing a child again, but instead I lost you. Today is Judgment Day, the day we waited for. Fire and brimstone from the sky. And now, that was the end of the Division 5 poems that I'm going to read. I want to read some poems from every section of this book, actually. And first I'm going to start out right now by reading a poem that I have not put in this book yet, but I wrote more recently. Just want to read it. It's a little more personal than these poems. That's just so I have to find it. I don't actually have a paper copy of this. It's so new. But this is like a first draft of a new poem. It's still very subject to revision, so actually all these poems are subject to revision. I'm not done writing them, but I'm just going to go to the beginning of this poem. Okay, here it is. It's currently number 4 in book 2. So it's about high school. You guys should know by now that my high school experience was not that fun. So, and let's see. It's actually one name here that's might want to change that name, but the other names are all replaced, except for I mentioned my my creative writing professor, who I talked about last podcast in this poem. I think he's mentioned here. Let's see, I have to reread this. Yeah, he is. But actually, I need to edit the name out of this poem, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, after the editing was done, just did that small bit of editing so no one is offended. Don't want to get anyone's feathers ruffled or anything. Don't want anyone's like to be upset with me. So just let's read this. Okay, number 4, and this is from section 2. The numbers are subject to change though, like everything else is. Yes, I am sick of Vincent's poetry, and you sit behind me, but we don't talk. In middle school, I had no control. In high school, I missed the train. Fuck that, I lost my soul. Always motion. I walk through the Bishop O'Connell hallways, and I see you walk by, lightly bump into you without noticing. I forgot your name was Molly. Okay, let's say that again. I forgot your name was Molly. The devil wanted us to be together. The devil pulled us apart. Sometimes speech is absolutely necessary, but most of all today, it is absolutely necessary to get to class on time, to period 6, Tom's creative writing class. One day Tom will have his reprisal. One day his symphony will have a reprise. But we lose track of time. What is time but all the ways your smile has changed in ways I never noticed? But I cannot keep you forever. They cannot keep me here forever. Cannot lock me away. So, I really want some feedback on that poem. Might be terrible, might be good, don't really care though. But I just want some feedback, and so if you let me know what you think of that poem in the comments, just so I know someone's listening. I mean, a lot of people want to be engaged with that, so I can engage other people in this conversation about poetry, and it'll make a more interesting podcast in the future if we actually have. I can ask for suggestions from you guys in the future about what you guys want to hear. I can take submissions from people's poems if someone wants me to read them. That'd be interesting in the future. So what I have left to read from is from section 1. I don't think I read a poem, did I? No, I did not, actually. So I have to read from section 1. I'm not reading anything from section 8 because that's totally not finished. But section 1, section 3, and the last one would be section 6 and 7. So I'll start with section 1. Let me just pick a poem out really quick. Still searching. Okay, I think I'll just read this one. It's a love poem. This has undergone several revisions. I changed the entire layout of this poem like multiple times, just want to get the right feeling. So I'm just gonna start reading. This is number 3 currently in Division 1. I told you I love you. Someone dying in our immediate proximity. While I remember walking alone by the clear water, and wishing I could leave, and seeing this couple leaning on the railing of a bridge, watching the sunset on an earth that is running out of light. Fast forward, I'm standing behind the iron-locked door, hoping to God you picked up the phone. A thief in the night takes our souls away from the universe I know. And that poem was pretty much just reminiscing about the past. It's just not really directed at a specific person, but just saying, like, it's very sad the way some things in the past might have happened. That's basically what the poem is trying to say, that you walk alone, you tell someone you love them. These are separate instances, though, where I told you I love you. That's in the past tense. But this is one of my favorite poems in this book, actually, even though not everyone might have the same appreciation for my work that I do. I mean, specific poems of my work. But let's just move on to the next one. So I think I'm going to read the first part of this poem I wrote called Canto 27 from Division 3, which is the longest poem in this book, but I'm not going to read the whole thing, of course. Oh, and I actually forgot I have to read something from Division 4. So this book is 300 pages long, in case you're wondering. And the next beta copy will have like 320 pages, which is pretty much where I want to stop. I want to stop adding content, start cutting some stuff out. But I want to keep it at around 320 pages for the final copy. So I might have to edit this version later, this poem. Let's see, Division 3. Okay, it's called Canto 27. Okay. What we need is surety that we are walking in the wrong direction. So then we will know, without a doubt, the world is insane. Save us from our greater love, blinding us to the pain we cause the ones who never existed to feel. Or rather, not to exist at all. Because no matter where we go in the world, we'll find nothing but sadness at all. And we are more deceived than those tricked into willful murder. The day Iran set off the bomb, eyes glued to the television. The day we took the mark of the beast. We lay there, sound asleep. And when we lose our mortal souls and hell is our destiny, there will be no one to pour a single drop on our burning tongues. The day ISIS slit our throats, we sat in the classroom, we drank our wine. The day all knowledge was destroyed, forgetting everything then and now. It is impossible to feel. All we want is to sleep with beautiful celebrities. Selena Gomez takes the stage singing childhood songs about the Holy Roman Church. It firmly believes, professes, and preaches that all those outside the Catholic Church, not only pagans but also Jews or heretics and schismatics, cannot share in eternal life, but will go into the everlasting fire that was prepared for the devil and his angels. And unless I am joined to the church before the end of my life, I will never see her face again. The dogs then slit her throat as she screamed that it will be together forever, forever, forever never ends. Too long a time to be away from her, and too long a time to reap what I have sown. All the stories we read in books, like drowned out spirits, will never come true or save our souls. And all I think about is the way a woman moves on the dance floor, the way her body feels in bed, the way our children will never learn, never hear the truth. 1,000 scattered thoughts, a Bible with every page torn. A world of disenchantment, the last day of high school, a nation we never thought would burn. Picture frames that will never be filled. Brother Peter Diamond, when we walk the path to hell, I want to walk alone. And not sure if you guys got that, but it's really about a lot of religious thoughts I was having at the time. Religion has been really a bad influence on my life, which is why I'm writing the reason why I'm writing this book, just to try to vent everything, get it out there. And a lot of people, another aspect of this book that I write about, besides religion, is people's lack of caring about other people's suffering, about how other people see things, about what other people need or want, or how other people, more importantly, is the aspect about how people see things. Because if you don't know how someone sees the world, you're not going to have any empathy for them. You're not going to have any concern for them. So the last part of this poem, this is not the whole poem, but the last part of this section that I read, how it mentions Brother Peter Diamond, He's actually a very conservative Sedevacantist Catholic who runs a monastery, and he's basically the name he made for himself was his reputation is for defending the idea that all non-Catholics go to hell, which is a very mystical and at the same time very scary, hardcore, radical, and destructive mindset to have. So just wanted to get that out there. And even when I was talking with an Eastern Orthodox priest one time, he said that what was I going to say? That when I read him the Council of Florence, how the Council of Florence defines that all non-Catholics go to hell, which and I read the quote from him, from that council to him, and he basically compared the Catholic Church at that time in like the 15th century to ISIS, which is a big reason, I guess, why a lot of people left that religion during the Reformation, because how authoritarian it was, how stringent it is, which is a lot like how we should take that same mentality of being like stringent and stuff, but use it for good. Use it to be like loving, never failing in your charity for other people, just never giving up on other people. We should always have a mindset that, just like Jesus said, like we should get back to that mindset to always be there for other people. And hopefully you understood what I was saying. Hopefully I didn't ramble. I know the poem can be a little cryptic, but if my words are cryptic, that's not what I'm trying to... I want to be as clear as possible, but like poems don't really matter about how you don't have to express something in a certain way in a poem, because poems should be like what you want to express. There shouldn't be any rules there, but this is number 10 in book 4, division 4, and I just want to read this poem. Okay, here it is. Suffocation, sensation, skin bearing down and soaked skin. These nights go on, we lose our mental health. Smashed into fragmentation, what we will definitely never feel again. The star is so far away. The kingdom will never come, night and day. Odysseus journeys home, never to reach his destination. Am I alive like I was before? Natalie's lips against mine. No one can taste, no one can feel. Heart to heart, skin to skin. The heaven will never know, cut off from us on our wedding day. Multitudes of words I'll never say. Highest mountains never move, although my faith is unwavering. Okay, I got something in my throat. Okay, heaven so far away. Whisper it a word of change, and you'll never find it. Sink it in simplicity, and you'll never escape from it. Walking down Toronto streets, when the night is cold, and slip from your arms like faith, hope, charity. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, bring me to eternity's shore. Reality losing grip of it. Riots in Toronto streets. Bombs go off in faraway lands. What we had before, dead-end jobs, lives without a first cause, life without an existing God, is nothing compared to what we have together. We'll get out of this together, I promise. And that's it for that poem. So I read one from Division 1. I definitely read like 2 from Division 2. Then Division 3 is the poem that last one. Okay, so I already read 5, so I need to do 6 and 7, so I'm just going to read, let's go to section 6. So I've decided to read the last poems on section 6 and 7, respectively. So this is number 16 of section 6. Okay. This has to do with an actual dream I had one night, after watching a bunch of religious YouTube videos. So this has to do with a YouTuber named Ali Marie, and she's a Catholic YouTuber, and she's not very conservative though. But I had a dream about her. So, and people can't control what they're dreaming. So I'm just being honest with my dreams and my poetry. So that's what I usually do. Unless it reveals something that's bad about another person, I usually try to stay away from that. So let's just read this. At the end of the party, I saw Ali Marie and asked her if she wanted to slow down for a moment and maybe go out to dinner. But I don't remember what she said. Because in my dream, I went home and took so much of my own medication that I ended up in the hospital for 3 weeks. And during those 3 weeks, I realized that I missed Molly so much that I will spend my life not realizing, not succumbing to the meaning or purpose that we exist for in the first place. Because I'm starting to believe that without the divine faith, we are without direction and chase after the wind. Because nothing will ever convince me that I am wrong. But the feeling you get when you are dumbed down because of pills, when you are dying in your false celebration, because on a wedding day we thought we all were happy, but then we realize that we will never share in the same joy because the demons haunt my footsteps, fill my dreams. And now I'm just going to quickly flip to like 3 pages over to the last poem of the book, which is in Division 7. Well, I actually have a Division 8, but I haven't put it in yet. So, a day inside with the blinds closed. Another moment away from you. We become unreachable. A day without sunlight. Sophomore year at Bishop O'Connell. Another year will pass. Eventually we all forget. Don't forget that we were together. And don't forget when we will die. We're all a little desperate. At times like this, I realized that this pain threatens to encapsulate me. And I walked away. Looking through old Instagram photos, and remembering when we went out drinking. If I could encapsulate the moment when we were together laughing, we wouldn't need to leave the world. But the darkness falls upon us, the days are monotonous, and are getting painfully long. Another day in a dead-end job, and I cannot concentrate, will never again move on. And she said, Joey, I know that desperation is one of the worst feelings in the world. Like being taken away from sunlight. Being taken away from you. Until the world falls apart. I will simply watch the clouds move. Watch you in my dreams. Watch a war in a nation far away. Watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The world is bored to death as the vampires plot in darkness to suck our blood. And that's what you'll read if you get to the end of my book. So, well, in its current form. But so if you got this far with me, listening to this podcast, please just leave a comment if you want me to comment more about the meaning of any of these poems. Just give the timestamp I read the poem, and or something about the poem, and then just say, hey, I'd like you to go in more depth about what this poem means because I was interested in it, or I'd like to know something about the poem that struck you or anything. It'd be really cool if I could actually have a conversation with you guys. So I'm just gonna move on now. So now in this section of this program, just want to quickly talk about myself actually. So right now I am a business management student at George Mason University. I'm studying to get my master's degree at an MSM in business management, and it's been pretty difficult actually, especially with the really math-oriented classes. But I think I'm pretty much done with those. But I've been getting through it. I really want to, in the future, I want to use the degree to do some like literature or art related things, because art is really where my heart is. So I just want to, even though like in the past I even tried to start a band but didn't really work out that well, but now that I can find ways to express myself when I don't need other people to actually get that done, because if you're in a band, you really need, if you want to start a band, you can't start a band usually without other people, because that's an essential part of making that music. But now that I can rely on myself, I guess just want to, like, my dream would be to actually own a small publishing company, but I'm not sure how many people actually read books anymore, but mostly it's electronic stuff, and like, because the internet has made everything so accessible that you don't really need printed books anymore. If everything was online, there'd be no need to carry books around. But there's something really unique about having that special experience, just picking up a book, just reading it. And So now what I want to talk about is the subjects I wanted to talk about last time for future episodes. Where I talked about my book already. I don't think we need to talk about more about that anymore. But the big subject I really want to talk about is song lyrics as they relate to poetry, and maybe the whole next episode will be surround that subject. So, and also images relating to poetry, images in poetry. Then Whitman, I can dedicate a whole episode to him. The last one will be social justice and how that relates to poetry, like how activism and poetry go together. So I already talked about this last episode, but just wanted to remind you guys of my plans, and stay tuned for future episodes. But for now, I have some work to do for school, so I'm just gonna get that done right now. But it was really this podcast has been a really fun experience so far, even though this is just the second episode. But I really want to hear from people, so please let me know. So bye, and I'll see you guys later.